All right, thanks for coming. I know this has been a little bit long in getting to this point, but we're very, very excited about this recruiting class for many reasons. A couple of the ones that really stand out. Sometimes the metrics of the position change, but the criteria really doesn't. And the criteria that you want to have in your class, above all else, is that they win. Are they good people? Do they have really strong character? Are there upsides athletically and intelligence-wise, but do they win? Are they year-round winners? And these 6 are. There's no question that they are. They're all well coached, very well coached. And some we've had a chance to follow for longer than others. But the bottom line is they know how to be coached. They are being coached, and they receive coaching, which is they absorb it, which is really important. We'll go through the class in the order of how they committed. And going back to the first 2, they committed, it was almost like having twins. I mean, they committed within about 20 minutes of each other. After a game a couple of years ago, Devin Davis really has tremendous athleticism, plays with great energy. And it's fun to watch him do the things that he's capable of doing, that he's stayed injury-free, and can get to the basket, can go coast to coast with the ball, can score on both sides of the rim. Can be a pretty good shooter, notwithstanding the 8 free throws he missed a couple weeks ago in a game. But he can be a good shooter, we feel. We think he can be an outstanding defender, and he kind of epitomizes versatility. And there's a multi-dimensional ability that he has on both ends of the floor. We think Colin Hartman brings something that we're really going to need based on the fact of who we're losing in this class of seniors, and that's outside shooting ability. The first thing that grabs you about Colin is his ability to make outside shots. The more you watch him, and we were able to see this from his 9th grade year on, is he's got a tremendous court sense. He can really pass the ball. He can read situations. He can find cutters. Very, very intelligent player. And again, as he remains injury-free, his skills just continue to flourish. So we feel like in the state of Indiana right there, when they committed, we ended up with 2 of the best guys in this state for what we want to do, for how we want to play, and for how we want to run the program here. And I think those guys fit in extremely well with that. Colin has got a chance to spread the defense right away for us when he gets here. And the outside shooting, like I mentioned, will be important, but his ability to pass the ball. He's got some similarities to Will. They both have different strengths. Colin comes in maybe more of a polished shooter, where Will was maybe just a little bit better without the ball. But both of them have that ability to make everybody else better, not only with their offense, but with their ability to cut, move, and pass. Luke Fisher probably comes, when you really want to draw up somebody that really fits what you want to do at a high level on the inside, because he's a big basketball player. I mean, you really don't have to look much further than Cody, so we get a chance to see that every day. And the comparisons that I would give Luke to Cody are this. Their approach is very, very similar. Their demeanor, their ability to figure things out and not get rattled is very, very similar. I would say at the same age, there's a somewhat similar skill set. Now, until we coach Luke day by day, day after day, I should say, we won't know exactly where that stands. So those are my comparisons with Cody, because they do relatively play the same type of position. Luke is a basketball player. Luke is a 7-foot basketball player. And he can play with his back to the basket. He can play facing up. He is a complete winner. He hasn't lost since his, Tim, sophomore year? Yes. Yeah, he hasn't lost since his sophomore year. He's won in the summertime. So we're excited about him. And right now on this team, he's doing a great job of being the focal point, which is hard to be the focal point of the other team's defense and at the same time have to be responsible to help everybody else out. And I think that's got some Cody similarities as well, because obviously you can go to Cody and you can play through Cody. And Luke is learning to do that. I think I love when I hear that he's trying to pattern things that he does after Cody. I think any young player would want to be trying to pattern some of the things that Cody does, especially with his ability to play end-to-end, run the floor, pass the ball, all those types of things. So Luke brings that, and again, extremely well coached, judging by the fact they won a state championship last year. Stanford Robinson is somebody that we paid attention to in the past. And shortly after we hired Kenny, it became a priority because I think we became a place that he saw himself. We always saw some Victor in him, but then it became different. And I say Victor in the sense of the character, some charisma, a happy person, trying to make other people better. You know, those things really, really matter before you ever get to the basketball. You got to have a certain amount of talent, or we really can't be even in the consideration stage. But once that talent is there and you see all those other intangibles and qualifications that really separate people, Stan has that. And this summer he was fantastic in the sense of the way he played with both hands, his ability to go end to end, rim to rim. His three-point shooting continues to improve. He did a great job at Paul VI, and now he's doing a very good job at Finley, inside of some of the best competition that you're going to face in the country, and with big games coming up. Passing the ball well, very, very hungry to be a great player, and very introspective, always wanting to improve. So we're excited about the upside of him and his ability to have that versatility on both ends and to play end to end and play in a fast-paced game is going to really lead to him when he gets here. As far as Troy Williams, that was when we found out that we had an opportunity to recruit him. When his recruiting changed at the late spring, early summer, and it became apparent that there was a small window to get in, Kenny did a fantastic job. Our entire staff did a great job of really pinpointing, okay, these are the guys that would really fit us. What if we had a chance to recruit him? And that window kept getting bigger, and we just kept staying after it. And it just became, there was a guy that we were already a fan of. And once we had the opportunity to recruit him and see how he would fit, we couldn't have drawn it up much better. He is a cross, we've said this multiple times, he's a cross between Will and Victor. And I'm using comparisons just, you know, for not just for your sake, but for our fans' sake, to try to get a feel for where these guys are at. So when you combine the height, when you combine the athleticism, when you combine just the incredible leaping ability, the explosion, the ability to run end to end, and I think we're going to be great for Troy because we're going to help him get much better in the half court. We're going to help him get much better in the ball screens, become a more confident shooter. But what he brings to this table when it comes to energy, edge, up and down the floor, ability to offensive rebound at his size, those are crucial things. I mean, if we're to be a great basketball team, and we're harping on it daily in here, you've got to have great wing rebounding, guard rebounding. Guard rebounds on the defensive end lead to baskets. Offensive rebounding for your wings give you a real edge, and we think Troy will bring that. He is another guy that's had really good success in high school, then wanted to go challenge himself against the best in the country at one of the best places you could possibly go. So again, whether it be his uncle Boo Williams, his aunt Terry Williams-Fournette, who coaches at Auburn, or his grandmother, his mother, or now Steve Smith, he has been well coached, and he's going to be well prepared coming in here, and it's exciting to see him. He's a stat sheet stuffer without really understanding just yet how to do all that. And it's his ability to read defenses, and like I said, playing that half court improve, he'll be tremendous. Noah is someone that's a dream recruit in this sense. To have somebody that is that humble, that is that grounded, and that talented at that young of an age, have the opportunity not only to recruit them but to sign them. You can't expect that. You can't go into a recruiting class or go into a recruiting time period and think that you're going to be able to get somebody like that. And the stars were aligned for us. Again, the staff did a great job. Kenny spearheaded that. Staff did a fantastic job of getting to know him good. We really identified that, okay, if we can recruit him and it's for a year later, hey, that's fine, because that's exactly the kind of player you want to have in the program, because the upside is just enormous. And we saw that through the summer. As talented and skilled as he is, the upside it's hard to imagine it. And he's got incredible length. I think he's 6'8" with a 7'4.5" wingspan. And again, it just fits what we're trying to do with that length and versatility in our program right now, to have a guy like that. He's incredibly unselfish. And we just saw this a week ago. I mean, they can give him the ball at the top of the key in a 1-4, 1-2-2 type situation. He just delivers the ball. He's like Cody in the sense that he doesn't look for his offense enough, and nearly enough. And he's another one of those young guys that we've got here that I think's untapped in the sense they have no idea how good they can be. And it's our job, with their teammates' job, to pull that out of them. But Noah, again, the humbleness, the desire to get better, the desire to learn. When you use the term sponge, I mean, I've learned not to use that lightly. You know, to want to see somebody as a sponge for learning. We don't use it lightly with him. He's a sponge. I mean, he has high goals. He's very confident, yet there's not an entitlement, there's not an enablement, he's not wired to think it's supposed to happen overnight. He knows it's a process, and we're fortunate to have it. So this staff, again, I always bring them up here because they deserve it. And they get, I try to give them credit, and I know some of you try to give them opportunities to have that focus put upon them. They're all big time people. Calvert can't go off campus right now outside of what he did in the spring when we had the change in staff. But it's as invaluable to this staff on campus as there could possibly be. Marty should be sitting up here. Marty Mooney, Janae Jackson. Those people there are X factors in the program. There are X factors in recruiting. And we don't have a recruiting meal that Marty and Janae and Calvert wouldn't be at, just like we don't have a recruit, whether it's an unofficial visit or a 2-day visit, where they're not going to spend ample and quality time, because that's when the program sells itself. It really sells itself when they can see the environment, and they can see us play, and they can see the crowd, and they can see a Hoosier hysteria. I think it helps sell it when they can see us practice and they can see the player development that's going on. But when they get on this campus and they spend time with the staff, and then they get around these players and they see the humbleness, the togetherness, the humility that our team is that our program is trying to envelop. It doesn't always work that way, and we don't always have that. I'm not saying we don't make mistakes with it, but that's what I think comes across. Well, our coaching staff leads the way on that. They make the job so much easier for me and for the players and for this university because of the work that they do. And it's top to bottom. I mean, that's what's so great about it. We don't, everybody recruiting-wise, there might be somebody that's the point person in that recruiting, and I think that's important. You've got to have a place where you go for, okay, what's the main communication on this person? What are we hearing? And there's someone that has to maybe be the one that spearheads that and puts it all together. But when it comes to how we separate the recruiting, it's everybody. It's never, I never worked in an environment where it was my guy or his person's guy. I would never coach in that environment because we don't coach them that way when they're here. So it's never, well, Steve's got these 2 guys and Tim's got those 3 guys and Calvert's got that guy. It doesn't work like that. You know, people develop different relationships over a period of time, but this is a staff that's out there to show that we are selling something that's real, and that's a family atmosphere. And I'm proud of what they're doing. So we'll open it up.
As far as you're talking about all the things that sell the program, particularly with the 3 guys that kind of have East Coast roots, how much do you think being #1 in the nation opened some doors there and got some interest there?
No question it did. I think we could go back to the Kentucky game last year. There's no question that had huge value nationally for us. I think the Ohio State game, I mean, I think the fact that we went into the NCAA tournament, all those things help. There's no question that Kentucky got people's attention. The game in here in December got people's attention. And fortunately, we were able to hold that attention. And even when we didn't know we were holding it, because there's been more comments made, but there's no question that the projections of the summertime and the being #1, that played into it. Because people want to go where they're going to have a chance to get notoriety, where they're going to win. But they really want to go where there's going to be tradition. And when they get in here and they see this, they see the tradition. They may not always know what tradition is, but when they get here, and I know we fight, I mean, I shouldn't say we fight it, we deal with that with other schools as well. They get in here, they see that it is real. And I think that's huge. And again, all these coaches, they're great recruiters because they're great coaches. I mean, it's one thing to talk on the phone to a guy and text message and email and tell them a bunch of things, but if those kids get in here and they watch 15 to 20 minutes of practice and they don't see it, they're the most perceptive, smart people around. I mean, you're going to lose them. So it's one thing for somebody to be able to converse and talk. It's a whole other thing for them to come in and see this really is happening. I mean, they really are developing players. That's the kind of staff we have.
Tom, are you getting a little more, not that IU's always been national, but with the expansion of the Big Ten, with Kenny's input, maybe getting a little more of a national reach?
Well, I don't think expansion had anything to do with it. It might down the road. I think it does for the future. But, I mean, we knew about the expansion when you did. I mean, it wasn't like we had any in-house knowledge of that. But I don't think there's any question that we've always appreciated the East. I mean, after being in the Big East Conference, like I was, and these guys have, Steve's been a national program guy where he's coached. I mean, they didn't have an airport within 2.5 hours of Laramie, Wyoming. He had to go somewhere. You weren't just going to go there. I mean, you got to get people in. Tim has done a majority of what he's done in the Midwest, but Tim is respected nationally. I mean, there's no question about it. And Kenny coming in with what he knew in his base, but again, Kenny could be the nicest guy in the world or the sharpest coach around, but people believe in Kenny, and we believe in him. I mean, and Kenny being here, I mean, that believability it's there, you know. And again, you're not fooling young people, and so they see it. So we've always, from the day one of the job, April 2nd, 2008, said we're starting inside out, and we've never wavered. We've never wavered. There's been some years that we got more. I mean, where would this program be without Jordan Hulse and Derek Elston? You know, especially getting Jordan to stay at home and not being recruited. Though being recruited by some pretty great schools, but not recruited maybe like maybe he would be today if he was just coming out. So we've always tried to start inside out, but with that being said, it's not necessarily where you go, it's who fits. It's who fits. We went to Florida to get Will, we went to Maryland to get Victor. Those two fit extremely well. Christian from Birmingham, Maurice Creek from Maryland. I mean, they all fit. So you got to have, it's not as much about the national reach as about who really fits your program.
This might be kind of the same question, but what did this recruiting cycle tell you about how you're viewed nationally?
This was probably, I'll let these guys, because they're in the trenches with it too. My opinion would be that we've never felt it like this in the years past. I mean, we felt it because we were selling Indiana not only as state of Indiana Big Ten, but as a national program, a 5-time national championship winner and 8 Final Fours. We were selling that. And we were on television all the time, but I'm not sure, you know, it was being sold that way. The one thing this program has done, it's had to earn its way back on everything. It's had to earn its way back on CBS, and ESPN stuck with us, you know, through certain periods of time. And this is going to be our first game day. I mean, the opportunities come because you win, and you never apologize for what you earn. And I think this program has earned the right again to be able to really go anywhere because geography-wise is not nearly as important as are they going to come here, get a great education, fit into the program, get better, have a chance to win, get all those things that they want. And now it's just more apparent nationally that can and will happen in Indiana. So I know we definitely felt that. Tim?
I would say that now everybody's able to see what our product is. Before we used to have to describe it and what it was going to look like. And then I think the other thing that is such a key component, especially where coach is concerned, is everybody graduates that comes through the program. Now more and more of them are graduating early. That's obviously very important to family and parents, but then also the second contract guys in the NBA. Some guys just want to get to the NBA, and if that's the case, that doesn't mean you're going to last. His guys have lasted in the NBA, and they've made it when maybe they were looked at as underdogs, and I think the player development is obviously there, and now it's showing with our Indiana guys as well.
How important was it especially with like Will and Vic, two guys that maybe weren't ranked real high coming out of high school? You guys obviously saw the talent, but the development that they've made, how much do you think that's helped in the recruiting trail because people are seeing that you are developing players at a high level?
Well, I'll answer part of this, then give this one to Steve. I would say this. It helps a great deal because, I mean, I always go back. Some of the people that rank players for a living, they're some of my closest friends, good friends, and I read it nonstop, but we don't make our decisions on it. And you just can't. You know, it's part of the process. It's part of the tools that are available, so to speak. Okay, because when we signed Dwayne Wade, when Tim and I were at Marquette, I mean, he was in one top 100 by the end of the year, 2 at the most, 7th in the state for Mr. Basketball. So you always go back to that. Beauty is truly in the eye of the beholder, and you recruit that way. Okay, and sometimes that's hard for your fan base to see that, but you got to stay true to it. And we do. But the other thing we did this year, Seth Cooper did a great study. He went back through the last 12 years, and he found out that only 28% of the consensus top 100 had ever played one NBA game, at least one NBA game, I should say. So you start selling that the rankings and the top 100s and all those things matter absolutely zero when it comes to what the next level. They may track you earlier because you're ranked. But it doesn't have anything to do with where you get picked and who you play for and how long you play for. And that's where going back and being able to show, I mean, I truly believe Victor and Will are going to play in the NBA for a long time. And they were in the 130s to 140s. So, I mean, again, you look at it, and what we were able to do to go back with the track record is, okay, some of the guys we had at Marquette, 6 of those 9, played in the NBA, and we're going to help you develop, because once you get here, it's a clean slate no matter what. I mean, no matter what. The ranking doesn't help you win a game or lose a game. It doesn't carry you to the next practice. Sometimes it's a burden. But getting better daily and having a plan to get better daily and absorbing what it means to get better daily, that's what we're trying to do at a high level. Steve?
Well, and I think Tim said it, that's the other part, that as we recruit and these young guys walk in and see Will and see Vic and see the development, because again, you can sell it, but people have to see it and parents have to see it, and it's real. I think you've heard Coach use that word a couple times. It's real. It isn't something that's made up. It's right there for them to see, and not just those two. And we can't ever talk about names, but to walk in on an unofficial visit on a Friday night, sit in the conference room, hear a ball bouncing, walk out with the kid. It's 10 o'clock on a Friday night, and Cody Zeller's in Cook Hall working on his game. That's real. You didn't set it up. It wasn't made-believe. It was a young guy watching one of the best players in the country working on his game at 10 o'clock on Friday night. That's what kids and parents are seeing.
What else these guys?
I want to ask you, obviously, and I know you say these things work themselves out, and obviously you got a lot of players at the, really big time players at the end, but you are signed, oversigned by 3. Basically, what makes you confident that, or what makes you sure, I guess, that it's going to work itself out and you're going to have enough spots for all your guys?
Well, because that's all part of the stuff that that goes on in the program, as far as being able to project, look ahead, and at the same time have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, and we just have those. That's just the way that it is. It's always like that, and it's rarely ever going to be public. But I mean, I could go to the stock line as it always works its way out, or works itself out, and it does. But I mean, it's not like we just throw things out as a whim, and we're certainly not trying to be just trying to stockpile for stockpile's sake. We're trying to make sure we keep building the program and growing the program at a high level, at the level that it needs to be grown at.
There's obviously, a few guys that might have the opportunity to leave early to go to the NBA. I guess, are you concerned that a scholarship crunch becomes a factor in their decision, that they might factor that in terms of...
Oh, no, I think our guys, no, I don't think so, no. Believe me, if a guy is good enough to go and it's a no-brainer type situation, there'll be nobody here standing in anybody's way. And at the same time, if somebody in the same realm wanted to be able to come back, there'd be nobody saying no. So I don't look at it that way. Somebody for Kenny, come on.
Well, Kenny, a little bit, but
Come on, Jeff, you gotta have something. We're not gonna be able to hear you back there, though. Huh?
I'll speak loud.
Okay, good. Go ahead, Pete.
Is it more challenging now to recruit than it was before because of everything, whether it's the one and dones, whether it's the expanding conference, is the landscape, is it more challenging now than ever before?
You asking me?
Yeah.
No, it's not any more challenging. No, it's not any more challenging. No, I mean, we didn't start at Indiana trying to finish in 9th place. We didn't recruit to be in 11th, 10th, 9th, 8th place, recruiting-wise. You recruit to get to a point where you can win your league. Now, a lot of things have to go right, and a lot of things have to, injuries, there's all those factors that play into it. Being short of players would be a real problem. We've been down that road. We've been down that road here, and I've personally been down that road at Marquette, and not just short of players, but short of key positions. That's when it's hard. That's when it's really hard. But in the sense of trying to recruit, no, it's what you make of it. Sometimes it can be really hard. You have to have a plan, but you have to have it be flexible enough. And then you have to make adjustments constantly. It's like coaching a game. I mean, if you wait till the end of the game to say, I wish I'd have done this, or you just wait till halftime, we should have done this in the first half. I mean, you're usually going to be behind and have a chance to lose. It's the same thing in recruiting. You have a game plan, and then you try to make it as flexible as possible. There's a lot of things that go on in recruiting, and everybody knows that. I mean, so you just deal with it, the best that you can. And I don't think it's any harder now, and I think it's. I don't think it's any easier just because we're winning. I don't mean that. I mean, it's because you're always dealing with other programs. But I mean, I don't think it's any harder.
Kenny, coming into the program, what impressed you with the way that they all were already going about recruiting, and how did you make it better?
Well, I mean, there's a culture that's been established here, and there's also a standard that's pretty easy to see, you know, when you become a part of the program. And the first thing you want to do is make sure that you have a great understanding of what first and foremost what Coach Crean sees, and then you know, through discussions with what I consider to be two great mentors, Coach McClain and Coach Buckley, and also understanding the work that Calvert, Marnie, and Janae have done and are doing with the guys. You go through the process of trying to identify people that fit that culture. So, you know, when you go through, when you're doing that, when you have that baseline of information, it's pretty easy to see the type of individuals that are fit into the program. Then you have to go out and identify whether they have that same interest in the program. And, you know, when you meet the families and understand what their value system is, and you see the players, you understand what their goals are. You know, do they want to actually be developed? Do they want to work? You know, how much do they value their education? When you identify people who have all those common threads, you know, you try to introduce them to the program, and things have worked out well.
And Tom, as a follow-up, how has he made your recruiting efforts better?
Well, he's it's like recruiting a great player. Yeah, that you know is going to be really good, but you don't know how good until you get him. And I think Kenny's like that, and I think everybody would agree to that. First off, Kenny fits, and that's why it was the only other person that was considered for this job was Calvert. I mean, everybody knows that. I mean, if Calvert would have wanted it, Calvert would have been that guy. I mean, it was clear. There was nobody else that I even had ample conversation with or ample thought process. And that's not any offense to all the guys that are out there. I wanted somebody that was going to come in and really, really fit with this staff and with this program. And Kenny has got his own ideas, okay, certainly, all right, and got his own thoughts, certainly, but he was still relatively new to this business, and he didn't have the scars and all those things that come with it. And we didn't need somebody coming in here like that with this team. And Kenny has come in here and been hungry, been humble, that made all of our jobs easier and better because of his personality. And I say Doreen too. I mean, the wives of these guys, my wife, you know, they could all be up here. I mean, they really could. I mean, they're truly all involved. I mean, when it comes down to it, whether it's on campus, whether it's at the meals, whether it's our homes, when we have the kids, the recruits and the players over for a dinner, I mean, they're all involved. So the Johnson family has come in and really blended to this whole Indiana family in a really strong way. Just as Steve did 3 years ago, just as Tim did from the beginning, and Calvert did 2 years ago. I mean, that's what you want. You know, if you don't have anything, if you don't have staff harmony and staff chemistry, because no matter how good your team is, there will be cracks at some point if you don't have it right with your staff, and we do. It doesn't, it's like anything else. You can lose it, but I mean, you want to keep fighting and building for it every day. And when you got a bunch of people that know what it looks like, it works out. And Kenny's done a great job of that.
Hey, Kenny, how's Troy progress been? You've seen him a lot. How's that been going back to early in high school? And just, you know, what have you seen from him? The growth of the athleticism, just the talent and everything?
Well, I think one thing that people may not understand about Troy's not only a heck of a competitor, but he has a desire to be coached and to get better. You know, he has a great self-awareness as far as what his limitations are and what he needs to elevate his game to the next level. And he's actually been on a constant push to try to find that next level. You know, he works tremendously in the summertime on skill development. I think that's one of the things that actually really attracted him to our program is in getting to understand what we have. You know, what the separating factors that I consider to be our separating factors, whether it be Coach Crean. Coach Crean's great track record for player development, you know, our strength and conditioning program, the individuals that we have that work with him, and what can be considered his off time from the program. That really attracted him to the program. And, you know, so as he's progressed, I think the progression that you're seeing in him is just his own self-awareness and him attacking his deficiencies.
Kind of the same thing about Noah. I know you had a chance to see him early. You know, how good is he now? But, you know, How good can he be?
You know, how good can he be? I mean, that's to be seen. I mean, I don't think we've ever put any limitations on players as far as where their ceiling would be.
He's still really young. I mean, he's really young, so.
That's part of it.
Kenny, I think we asked you this already to some degree, but I guess how much did you see, what kind of impressions did the guys that you recruited out east have of Indiana before you started working for Indiana, I guess, and how were you, I guess, able to change that, or not change that necessarily, but give them a better idea of what you guys were selling?
I mean, to be honest with you, coming from not too far removed from being a high school basketball coach, guys in 8th, 9th, and 10th grade don't really watch basketball, you know, like they used to. I mean, if they were an Xbox character, they probably have a lot more familiarity with what was going on. One of the things I used to do as a high school coach, the first thing I used to do was...
Taylor Ware and Jeff Howard are on Xbox. Go ahead, I'm sorry, I saw him the other day. So, go ahead.
One of the first things I used to do was when guys would tell me, and I would ask them, well, who you been recruited by, who are you interested in, what programs around the country interest you? They would throw out a slew of 10 names, and you could see, you know, you probably saw those 10 names on ESPN, you know, every couple of weeks. And I would tell them, well, you know, don't tell me that you want to be recruited by a program if you don't understand, if you've never seen that program play basketball before, if you don't understand what that program is about, or what what that program has to offer you besides a name, you know, jersey. So I think that, honestly, you know, they were familiar with Maurice being here, with Victor being here, in that region. There was some familiarity with it, but other than that, they hadn't had a chance to dive into the separating factors of the program, and I think they've been introduced to it.
Calbert, do these guys remind you of Indiana players that you played with or that have come through the program before?
Without a doubt. 6 guys will be here. I mean, they bring a lot of great skills to the game: size, length, athleticism, but more importantly, as Coach has already talked about, great character. They're great kids and they have great character, and that's what this program is all about. And the great thing I love about Coach Crean and what I respect about Coach Crean is the fact that he's able to go beyond basketball. So whether they play over at the next level or not, obviously some of these guys' dreams, but Coach he's all about trying to make them better people. And whether they play at the next level or not, or become a rocket scientist or a doctor or a lawyer or something like that, he just wants them to be the best they can possibly be when it's all said and done when they graduate.
And for like a guy like Troy Williams, does his skill set remind you of anybody that's played in the program before? Or?
I would say he's probably a...
You jump like that?
No. I'm not quite like that, though. He would probably remind me of he's a bigger version of Greg Graham.
Okay.
Greg had unbelievable athleticism and ability to jump, but at the same time, the fact that Troy has that ability and what he brings to the table in terms of getting out on the open floor and doing the things that he's capable of doing, he would probably remind me of Greg. So I mean, and that's just tip of the iceberg. I would say there have been comparisons of Stan to myself because of what he can do on the floor. He can score it, he can pass it, he can defend and rebound it. He just wants to win. But that's just a few. I mean, but this recruiting class is unbelievable. But like I said, more importantly, they're great kids and with great character.
Okay. I know we got to
Yeah, we got to get to practice.
Get to practice.
Let's go. Thank you. Thank you.